Day number 4. So once again, we're back at the keyboard, and now we're starting to get a little bit of rhythm going here. The story is starting to kind of pick up a bit now. Those first couple days, which felt like, a bad day of writing feels like a week. My God, you could literally start your week off with a have 2 or 3 bad days, and then all of a sudden have your writing pick up, by the end of the week, basically. And you'd look back and you'd think you've been writing some bad work for like a month. The brain is a liar. And that's, if you're going to do this, if you're going to be a writer, if you're someone who's going to work on just any kind of creative project, I think that's something you need to be aware of, is that your brain is a liar. The mind is going to lie to you. The way you distort time, the way your brain filters events, is very, very different from the reality that it is. Things that are bad are going to be magnified a lot, especially in your writing. Bad sections or bad chapters are going to be magnified to the point where you're going to think the entire story is absolutely atrocious. It could be really something that maybe takes a couple paragraphs maybe to be retooled, maybe a couple quick fixes, and your brain will tell you the whole chapter is terrible and you need to throw it out, and you'll end up rewriting the thing like 3 times unnecessarily. It's always a worst case disaster, at least for me, when it comes to creative work. It's always a 5-alarm fire when something's not working. It's very rarely ever measured on an actual realistic basis of what it is, which is, again, need to rework a couple of these paragraphs here. The voice in this chapter isn't working. Just tweak it a bit. Every small correction will feel like you need to do a complete overhaul. Every bad writing session will feel like you've been spinning your wheels for a week, etc. And unfortunately, I do find that this only goes one way. It's never that I have a good writing session and suddenly my writing's been amazing this whole time. I might have 1 or 2 days of really good sessions and think, wow, I'm making some good progress. But it never feels like magnified. It never feels like, wow, you've been doing great this whole time. You've been, on fire this whole time. This story is just coming along so well. It's typically viewed in a much more realistic perspective, which is, hey, you had a great session, good job, and the story isn't as bad as you thought. That's a very healthy attitude to go into your projects with. It's good to go into your projects thinking, you know what, this story may not be the best, but it's darn better than my own internal critique is saying it is. This is going to be a fine story when it's done. Going in with that mentality is very healthy, and that's often what I feel like when I have a good day of writing. I don't get the grand delusion. I don't get these sort of periods of time where you think that you're absolutely amazing. But boy, do I get the opposite. I get the grand periods of time where I think my work's absolutely terrible. It's atrocious. No one's ever going to read it. It's awful. All that sort of cliched stuff, right? It all comes out. And it's amazing how many times you can work on, or how many different projects you can work on, and you'll feel that experience every single time, and you never learn from it. Right? I've experienced this with every single project I've worked on so far, and even though I could say, well, you experienced it with every single project so far, and you've already got 2 books out, it still will come to me as though it's the first time I've ever really experienced this feeling, and it just kills you. It does. It ruins your day. So right now I'm actually been writing more in the afternoons, evenings at the moment here, mostly because of my schedule. That's certainly part of it. But another reason for it is, quite simply, my days get affected by my writing. A bad day writing will affect my mood. A good day writing will affect my mood the rest of the day. So for me, it's easier to have a bad session and then stop and know I've got a few hours left in the day where I can hang out with my wife and my kid, have fun, have some dinner, what have you, and then go to bed and wake up knowing that, hey, it's a new day. Let's crush it. As opposed to writing first thing in the morning and getting a bad session, then all of a sudden having to work for 8 hours in a bit of a mood, basically. And then, realistically, my mood would probably get better as probably around noontime or something like that. But you've got several hours of my workday that would be affected by just my attitude here. And it's not healthy. It's not good. It's unprofessional in a lot of ways. So until my hand is forced, until I'm in a situation where my schedule simply makes me get up in the morning, I'm going to try and keep these sessions to afternoon, evening as best I can for now. But yeah, I guess the takeaway here is you cannot trust your own mind. You cannot trust your emotions when it comes to your work. They're not accurate assessments at all. And oftentimes the cure for this is to just keep moving ahead, to stick with the habit. This is why writing consistently is so important. It pushes the emotionality out of it. You had a bad session, good, write tomorrow. You had a great session, who cares, write tomorrow. Having kind of a cold attitude keeps you at a baseline of being productive, of getting work done. And when you look back on your work, you're never going to see the bad sessions. You're never going to reread, a draft of your work and go, wow, I was having a bad day that day. That's why the writing wasn't working. In fact, there are plenty, if you were to make like little margin notes on whether your prose that day, like whether you were having a good day or bad day writing, you'll read through it and you'll realize that most of your writing tends to be pretty uniform. That whether it was a good day or bad day, your writing is pretty consistently the same when you look back through it. There are going to be chapters that are terrible, obviously, sections that need to be reworked, etc., etc. But on the whole, I think you'll find that, your work on a bad day versus a good day, it's very indistinguishable. And we're talking a matter of degrees here. That if someone read it, they could not tell, hey, if you were off that day or not. It's one of those things where in the moment it feels worse, but looking back on it, you're never going to think, well, I had a bad day or had a good day, whatever, writing. You're just going to look at the whole of it and go, you know what, overall, this is working. It's not working. Let's make some corrections here and there. And I guess the last thing is there's no mistake you can't fix. There's no issue with your writing that can't be solved in some way. I'll put a caveat there. There are times when a story just simply can't work. I have felt that. Or you've bitten off more than you can chew, or you're not at the skill level of a writer that's good enough to maybe pull off the story that you want. That's certainly a real thing. But for the most part, any kind of mistake you make in your writing can generally be fixed.